How's it going, everyone? Mad Spartan here, and today, after a lot of attempts, I'm bringing you my Necropolis run, which took so long to do, might I add. The team that I currently have is a rank 4 Aegon, a rank 1 Chavez, and then I brought a Nick Fury for the damage boost for Aegon and Chavez, Heimdall to keep them alive, and of course Proxima for not only the combo shield, but the 20% Fury potency, which is huge. First fight is Titania. Not a hard fight. We kind of use this fight to build up Aegon. This whole run took me like 3 days to do because I didn't really have too many items and stuff for it. I think I had like 42 revives total and like 400 units. So I had like nothing. So I ended up having to put some money in to finish up the Grandmaster, but I did not see myself completing this. I did not have high hopes for myself. Now, the goal with this fight with Aegon is anything over 110 hits is like a very solid attempt. You're basically just using this fight to build up Aegon. By the end of it, you should have roughly about I would say about 650 hits. Obviously, mine is doing a lot less damage than what you're supposed to be doing because you're supposed to be using a rank 5 and even a rank 5 Ascended, depending. But I kind of got impatient, and I was really looking forward to the new meta, and I wanted to have Werewolf by Night. That was like the specific thing, but I confused the crystals at the end. I didn't realize it wasn't one that you can just pick any guy in the class. It's just like a specific pool of guys, but it still ended up working out pretty well in my favor. But as you can see, I'm just kind of maintaining my distance from her. I don't really care about dashing back twice and giving the weaknesses. I know that reduces her Haymaker, but it's not the end of the world. The worst possible luck that you can get is if she does her Haymaker and then throws the special while you get rooted. As soon as it hits 70 for my Aegon, it does begin rooting. I think for my Chavez, it's 100. I think it all depends on their overall and power level. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to get rid of the Haymaker so I can survive like another few specials before I die. You could pretty much last all the way till, she gets to 0 if you play it correctly. But I don't want to risk losing the damage that I'm doing. Well, not really the damage, but the hits that I get. So I'm going to go full for it right now. You could do, I believe it's 2 5-hit combos. It's a 5-hit combo, a 4-hit combo, and then another 5-hit combo. You can link that with your relic. So I'm going to try to throw my relic here to figure it out. And then I get another 6 hits, and I'm able to back out. Now, that was an awesome run. 135 hits. Now, obviously, fast forward, because every attempt is the same. You just constantly go over the same thing of, anything over 110 is a good attempt. If you don't feel confident, like you might die, then that's what I do. I kind of just back out. It's better to just, not take the chance and just go for it. I don't go for the technique of holding the heavy to get hit so you do more damage. I don't do that till much later because I'm trying to save units and items without healing, and then I realize it's actually costing me more items and more units due to the fact that I am not doing enough damage, and inevitably you do have to close out the fights. There is a kind of wiggle room, especially with Chavez, which, in my opinion, as good as Aegon was, oh my god, Chavez was amazing. It was just crazy. And the only thing that sucks with Titania is when she does have the Haymaker and throws the SP2, there's not too many gaps in between the SP2 animation where you can just hold block and let the Haymaker go away. I mean, me using her for so long kind of has its benefits. I do know the gaps a little bit. So for the SP1, there's a lot of gaps. And the SP2, I believe there's 2 real gaps, but you don't lose much progress because you can only stay in that position for a few milliseconds. So as you can see, I'm slowly getting back into the corner. She is going to start rooting me here, but as long as she doesn't have Haymaker, you can block the whole thing. You can dex it, as I learned in war, but it's just not worth it to me. It's the first fight, and I don't want to start using too many items for this fight. I do end up having to completely go for it. Nice double medium, so I can do another 6-hit combo. Gonna use the relic here, get as many hits as possible. I will have to close out because obviously I'm not doing enough damage, and we're still trying to stack up as many hits as possible. As soon as I get the last hit for the special, you back out, and as you can see, I was on 622 after that, which is definitely a solid amount. Like right here, I'm on 738. So I may be able to get like well over 800. She only has 527,000 health left, which obviously is still a lot, but for a ramped up Aegon, even though he's rank 4, it's not too many hits. I'll be lucky if I can get into 800. You know, I'm just kind of trying to get them all down every single attempt. I mean, I do have to use a lot of like editing because obviously it's a lot. You know, it takes a long time to voice over all this, play all this, and you know, I don't want to have you guys watch like it was like 4 hours of footage. Certain fights I do leave the full extent on, like certain Chavez fights, just because of how good she did for it and like how much control I had the whole fight. It's just, you can't help but just be like, this is insane. Like, it was like the coolest thing ever. So we're trying to bait out that SP2. We didn't get it, so now unfortunately I'm pretty much giving her Haymaker like right back. I did change my mastery, so I had Courage maxed out, so I am doing, I believe it's 20% more damage when below 50% health. She's about to go down here. That's the first guy down finally. And next up is Vision Arcus, which I did specifically bring Chavez for. Chavez's role was for Vision Arcus, Airwalker, Valkyrie, Sam Wilson Falcon, Dragon Man, and also Nova. She has a huge benefit to being on the team. I actually preferred using her more than Aegon. The attempts obviously last a lot longer with Chavez because she's not hitting as hard as Aegon, but because she gets like a crazy attack increase when they have buffs, she actually does pretty good damage. It's just obviously not as consistent as Aegon. Now with Vision Arcus, it's pretty much just SP2s all day. You are reversing the power gain. Just make sure you always have at least 2 of the purple dimensions. 2 stops it in its tracks. 3 obviously reverses it a heavy amount. You don't have to worry too much about the Cold Snap due to the fact that she has like crazy energy resistance. The only time that it becomes too much is when he gets to 100. So when the Necropolis of Boone goes to 100 and it turns red, your energy, like his energy damage is like too high. So you end up actually taking like big damage. So as you can see, I'm getting hit for like 414, you know, even with 3 armor breaks, and I'm regenerating about 200. So it's pretty much like a 200 Cold Snap. When he's at 100, you guys are going to see, I take like a 1400 Cold Snap. Like it definitely goes up by like a lot. The main thing of the fight is you don't really want to parry him, but obviously Chavez has her own stun mid-combo, which definitely helps. On top of the heal from the SP2, you actually end up staying at 100% health for majority of the fight. As you can see, I literally gained back, I think, like 15% health just from that alone. So the main focus of the fight is to have at least 2 purples to stop the power gain, and then constantly throw the SP2 with the middle dimension so that you can keep regenning. That's how I do every single fight. There was no different one. I mean, I guess if you had to get specific for Valkyrie because she had all those buffs, I did like doing the first one because it just did a little bit more damage, but I always try to prioritize staying alive. So as you can see, I do throw another SP2 here, and now we're back at 99% health. We gained 16% health just from that SP1. We're back at 100%. The fight is in full control, especially with you constantly throwing heavies to reverse the power gain. You're actually building up your relic really fast. So the good thing about Chavez is you're constantly throwing your relic out, which means he constantly is gaining the meter on the Necropolis of Boone. So her fights actually last a really long time, but there's literally nothing to worry about the whole game. The only time it gets a little tricky is when you're reversing the power gain too much and they don't throw their special just like that. It's not the end of the world, you know. It's just something you have to deal with. I constantly try to throw the relic on the first one so I have all 3 dimensions, and then throw the SP2 on the second one. So it's just like a way of not having to waste one special on specifically the first dimension. Obviously, it's very important, but we're always prioritizing living. Like, even when he gets to 100, you guys are going to see the Cold Snap will do a lot, but I could still actually hold my own for, I could probably take another like maybe 5-10% of his health away just from the heal of the SP2 alone. So we're going to throw another SP2 here. He is about to go to 100. It doesn't matter too much. We do have a relic to get him back up, so we won't be taking the big damage yet. I'm going to throw my relic soon. As you can see, 1446. We are rooted, but the SP1 is actually really easy to evade. On top of what's it called? On top of the regen from the SP2, you actually go back to full health. The only time it kind of screws you is when you do that. When you throw the SP1, and you can root. Not really that big of a deal. The only time it's a problem is when he gets to 0. You won't live to get to 0 with Chavez, unfortunately, just because the energy damage does stack up even with you healing. You know, you'll eventually have to throw a heavy to get the purple dimension, and with that, it kind of just screws you. Being rooted isn't the worst thing in the world because Chavez can pretty much attack any special with her heavy because she's right in front of their face. So I'm going to throw this SP1 here, get one last hit before I die. And just like that, we took off 20% health in one attempt, which is pretty crazy. Fast forward a few attempts, you know, I think the best way to do it to make it so you guys aren't watching the same stuff over and over again, I'm going to make it so that it's all, you know, maybe like the starting attempt so you guys can see how I do it, and then I'll fast forward to towards the end. I'm not going to lie, there were a couple of fights that completely broke my will to live. Like, I literally, like, did not want to play this game, like, ever again. As you can see, we did go for the first one for more damage, and, I mean, I know it was too fast to see those numbers, but we are hitting him like a truck. 20,000 on a heavy, just for one hit, and then they crit for 10. You can do literally 40,000 damage on her heavy alone. With the SP2 healing you, you are in full control of the fight. Like, it is absurd. But as I was saying, there were a few fights that literally destroyed my entire confidence. So certain fights I don't have recorded just because I didn't think I was making it, so I was just kind of like going aimlessly. The good news is those fights were kind of the brain dead Aegon fights. There really was no reason to have them in anyway. I probably would have cut them anyway. They're pretty much just simple, just try to bulldoze it with Aegon and see how far you can get. And as you can see, we are healing a lot from that SP2. There's nothing to worry about in this fight. It is a very long fight. Most of Chavez's fights are long. I mean, I'm sure if she was rank 2, it would have been a lot easier, but she is rank 1, which has a lot to do with why she's not doing as much damage. But overall, the fight is in full control. I don't know if I had the ending to it, or maybe I lost it along the way. I'm not sure. But that's how the fight is done. It literally just rinse and repeat. You can take about 25 to 30% off of each attempt. So, you know, roughly about 4 to 5 attempts, you know, 4 or 5 good attempts with Chavez. Full control, nothing to worry about. You do end up just dying once he gets to 100, but it's not the end of the world. I'm sure if she was ranked 2, it probably would have been a lot of less attempts. But unfortunately, we didn't have that. Now, next up is Omega Sentinel. This fight was a little frustrating just because I wasn't at 999 yet. And there is a couple times where I don't crit and she auto-blocks me and gives me the Incinerate, which isn't the end of the world. But I don't know what was going on in this, in Necropolis. I don't know if they switched it or something. I try to end, like, I literally in the middle of my combos, I'll hold heavy in hopes that they hit me so I can throw the SP2. And I tried it on Omega Sentinel, Captain Britain. I tried it on Wiccan. I think I tried it on Psycho-Man. These people do not hit me when I hold heavy. I don't know if they changed it. The AI was not cooperating at all. I don't know what was going on, but you are going to see a few times I'm going to be holding heavy, and they literally just hold block. Every single computer does that. All they do is just hold block, which I guess is fine. I'm not being punished for it, but there's a safety net anyway. Now, this fight, there's not really much to it. It's more of, as long as you have Aegon, you know, roughly at 999 or just somewhat close to it, you really just need the true accuracy because it stops the auto block. So it doesn't matter about any of her phases because they all kind of rely around her her auto block, and then they also make her armor break in here, which doesn't matter too much to Aegon. He doesn't really do armor break anyway. And as you can see there, I almost got clipped. So we're going to be trying to do as much damage as possible. There really is no like solid way to do it. You are going to be trying to get hit so you can do more damage with the Fury, but she's just not playing ball at all. So it's just a really long fight, which as you can see, we're getting to the point where it is going to go red. So we're going to be rooted. The good news is you can dex the SP1 just fine. A lot of champs where you can dex their specials comfortably, you can actually just not really deal with it until it gets to 0, which pretty much gives you a long amount of time, like after the point where you're getting rooted. Like you can pretty much play till it gets to 0. And as you can see, she was just auto blocking me like crazy, and I was unblockable, so I don't really understand how that happened. But I guess it's, you know, it's whatever. And I do back out because I do need to get 999 first, and I didn't want to lose that attempt. So this is just kind of the final part of it. We did definitely, because even when you're at Omega Sentinel, you do want to try to get to that 999 if you didn't already get it at Titania, or if you used him on Vision Arcus just to build him up. So we do unfortunately had to back out that last time. After that, you don't have to back out anymore because you're at 999 the whole run at that point. So it's just a really slow game of baiting SP1s. Even when you get rooted, it's such an easy special to dex. You don't really have to start worrying about anything until it gets to 0, which is when she becomes unblockable and she gains the power, which is still manageable. It's not really the end of the world. You're pretty much playing evasive the whole game anyway, so whether they're unblockable or not doesn't really matter too much to you. And when you get to this point of that amount of hits, you're pretty much critting on every hit. I mean, one every like 200 hits probably doesn't crit, but it's not the end of the world. Just hit into the block when you're unblockable, and just like that, she's down, which was crazy because I couldn't believe I even got 3 people down. As you can see, my team is a wreck, but Nick has to be dead because he gives me 20% attack. Chavez barely beat the Vision Arcus, and I don't ever heal up Aegon when I get him. And now this, I was astounded because I didn't do too much research on Necropolis. So when this guy ambushed me, it kind of caught me by surprise. I didn't even know, like, I don't know what their specials are. I don't know what I have to do against them. So, like, I was nervous that I was going to die just because I didn't know what they were. So I did get lucky, and as you can see, I did actually try to attack him. But we did find out it was Joe Fixit's SP2, and then I didn't know at the time, but his SP2 is Electra's SP1. So, like, I got nervous, and I had to check if I was recording, because I was like, because I haven't seen any videos on this. I did, like, mild research just to see, like, generally how to take each guy with Aegon. And then I watched a couple of Chavez fights, not really too much. I kind of wanted to learn it myself, but as you can see, we did miss the dex, but we do actually get the Fury, so we're going to try to get him down as fast as possible. But of course, he has his stupid mission thing, so you have to whiff attacks now. And his timer is going down, and I'm getting nervous because I don't know what that timer is. And you're going to see it's going to be giving me cues that it's almost down. And I thought maybe, like, I die when it comes down. So, like, as you can see, I'm just going full ham against this guy. And I'm like, I'm screwed once it gets to 0. So I do end up killing him before it gets to 0. Like, panicking, full panicking. I haven't seen him in any videos, I guess because he's not hard and not really worth it. But I was so surprised that I got ambushed by anyone. I didn't even know that it was a thing. And he did give me a pre-fight, in case you don't know. It just increases my attack rating. And to be honest, I didn't even notice the attack rating. It wasn't really of my concern. Next up is Airwalker. Not really, I mean, this is the fight that apparently, like, bankrupts people. And don't get me wrong, it was definitely a hard fight. But as any fight is with Chavez, I mean, it did take me a few tries to learn it. Because I know, like, you can't dex his specials because then he gives you the Dark Tide and that does a lot of damage. But I did find this little exploit, which I didn't see in any other video because I didn't see how Chavez takes these fights. I just know that people bring Chavez for it. And I found this little trick where as long as you have 2 purple dimensions, you're actually reversing his power gain to the point where he never holds 3 bars. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to knock him down with a heavy, and then you're going to hold block to either bait a heavy or bait a combo. It doesn't matter too much due to the fact that you do have a crazy amount of energy resistance. On top of him never throwing specials, on top of you constantly throwing your specials, and constantly building up that relic without any type of failure at all, you're pretty much constantly keeping the Necropolis of Boone up, which is huge because that makes the fight not only last longer, it makes you do more damage. I don't really remember what happens when his Necropolis thing goes to 100. I mean, besides the rooted, like how with Vision Arcus you get more energy damage or anything like that. It's probably some type of energy damage, but because he's never throwing his specials, you're pretty much never going to get Dark Tide anyway. There is no problem at all with this fight. This is how the fight is going to go. Heavy, hold block, bait heavy, another heavy. You're going to constantly throw SP2s into the second dimension to heal, and I can go into this fight with 40% health and come out of it with 100, depending on how long the fight lasts. Sometimes you are going to see me get to the level 3 just by accident, whether it's, you know, the amount of power I get from heavies or getting hit or anything like that. But as you can see, this fight is on complete lockdown. This is one of the few fights that I have like a full attempt on, just because of like, I was so proud of myself for finding it. I mean, I'm sure it's already on YouTube, but I was so proud of myself for finding something like crazy exploit like this, because I've only heard like crazy things about the Airwalker. So to see him reduced to something like this was like such a confidence boost for me. Like, you have no idea. So we are pretty much healing back up to full health while casually just getting him down. And as you can see, you know, 1 purple is enough to keep his power gain stagnant. 2 can reverse it. That's depending on the level of strength of the power gain. Like with Vision Arcus, that's not the case. You do need at least 2 to stop the power gain in its, you know, right in its place, and then 3 reverses it. With Airwalker, he kind of has a similar power gain to Doctor Strange, or yeah, pretty much just Doctor Strange, where it's just 1 purple dimension is enough to stop it in its place, and the second will reverse it. You only need it to be reversed like a little bit, which, as you can see, is just enough to take it off the 3 bars, so he's never going to retaliate with a level 3 through your block, which is pretty much the only special that these computers throw through your block. So as long as you keep doing this, you can play till it gets to 0. You can't play much longer than that, because they do become stun immune, so you're not going to be able to throw your heavy as fluently as you would in some case like this. So you're pretty much just waiting for the timer to go away until you die, because without you being able to throw the heavy to reverse the power gain, you know, eventually he's going to gain his power. There is no rooted or anything. He's just unblockable and stun immune. So there is no more holding heavy. There's no more holding block to bait heavies or anything like that. So, and pretty much, you could pretty much get this guy down in about maybe 4 attempts, maybe probably 3, because you could take about 30 to 35% of his health in 1 attempt, which is pretty crazy to hear. It all depends on, you know, lucky crits or anything like that, or, you know, how fast you're throwing your relic out. So as you can see, I do throw my relic here because I know he usually comes up with an attack. I'm gonna throw the SP. I'm gonna throw the SP3, and then immediately you have to hold block, because sometimes they get up and they immediately throw a special. So I immediately, I'm already inputting block. He is at 56, so we do have plenty of time, especially with constantly throwing the relic and him never throwing specials. I know that like when he dashes back, it goes down by 1. So as long as he's constantly in the corner, there is no downtime on this relic. It is absurd. You know, you are going to be taking a lot of block damage, but with your energy resistance, it's just magical. It really is. I did screw up there by throwing the relic, and I was so mad at myself. I should have just kept playing more safe, but unfortunately I screwed up. And as you can see, that fight was, you know, complete lockdown. Don't have to see the final ending of it, of me just getting him down, but that is how the fight goes if you plan to do it with Chavez. I'm sure rank 2 works amazing, but full control, roughly around 4 to 5 attempts, depending on how good you are. Now, this fight, as the people that I've told about my run, this is one of the fights that literally destroyed me. Like, I could not even like open the game anymore with how much this girl was killing me. The inverted was horrible. You don't get inverted all the time. You just get inverted sometimes, because sometimes you don't crit. So she's not giving you any debuffs. So you're not shrugging anything off. So you're constantly paying attention to this stupid head that's underneath your guy. And sometimes it's not, and then you're inverted, but other times you're not inverted. And then I thought of this grand plan of baiting heavies. But if it happens too fast, you like forget. And as you can see, I'm holding heavy and nothing happened. I was so mad. There's really nothing else I can say. I can't even look at this fight without. I am aggravated just narrating this fight. It was awful. It was awful. I think this was like the hardest fight in the whole thing. I mean, the Grandmaster sucked, but this was awful. There was only one fight that I could say was probably harder, and it was the Wiccan. But we'll get into that later. I did fast forward right to the end here. It did take me a lot of attempts. It was one of the fights that like bankrupted me. And it was right in the beginning, and I was so deflated. I just said, like, I can't do this anymore. So let me just see what the Wiccan's like. And I do get what's it called? I do get ambushed again by this Deadpool guy. I don't know if it happened before the Captain Britain or after the Captain Britain, which I was really upset about. I tried to figure it out, and I couldn't because I don't record them fluently. I record them and then I end them after the fights. As you can see, sometimes occasionally a couple of fights I'll get the notification that your recording was saved successfully. So sometimes it happens like that. So I did just want to throw this in here. I do get basically telling you I got ambushed again, but this time I was prepared. I know his specials. I'm not letting that timer go down because I don't want any part of it. Joe Fixit's SP2 is easy. There's nothing to it. And as you can see, he's going to die pretty fast. We do have to knock him down here because he doesn't take any damage if you don't. And just like that, it's full control. I think he even ends up... I think like he only has like 200,000 health. I guess that's why no one even talks about it. But like, I gotta say, it caught me off guard. Like, as you can see here, he's not taking any damage now. I guess it's just something that he has. But I don't know, because there's no fucking videos for him. But yeah. So we got that down. And we're going to be going up to the Wiccan now, which I was told isn't a hard fight. Every guide you watch is Aegon can take this, Aegon can take that. Just mow it down with Aegon. This is not one of those fights. As much as people tell you, it is not. It is not. Mark my words. First of all, if you parry, he gives you a neutralize. Not the end of the world. You can shrug that off. So at the time, I didn't know that. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, you can just shrug it off. And they're like, you constantly have to bait SP1s because the note is if you guys have the same amount of bar of power, basically you just cease to exist. So I'm like, okay, so we're gonna bait his SP1 because who wants to bait? Who wants to block his SP2? However, the later in the fight, he regens more health from his SP1. By the end of it, he's regenerating like 50,000. As you can see here, he's regenerating 1,500, which obviously isn't a lot for his health, but it's a lot when you're using a rank 4 Aegon that isn't allowed to do the heavy spam. It was awful. You have to constantly knock him down to switch his spells. If he happens to get the neutralized one, it's passive. The good news is you don't get any incinerates from it, but you don't get, look, as you can see, you don't get any buffs, nothing. If you don't knock him down by the time the incinerate one is out, you end up getting incinerated, and it's a huge incinerate. Like, it just ticks you down slowly. Happen to let him throw an SP1 here, 5,000 regen. I was losing my mind. I just came from hell fighting the Captain Britain, and I was so disgusted that I couldn't beat this guy. I was so mad. I could not believe it because his spells don't pause during your specials. So if he has the incinerator, the neutralized one, and you happen to be throwing a special, it could change during your special animation, and then you just get, you just get the neutralize, you just get the incinerate. The good news is he does have 3 buffs that you want him to get, and you can have him throw the SP1 to pause them, but you don't want him to do that because then he's regenning. So you're like, all right, I'll just block the SP2. The good news is it's not crazy on the block, especially if you're ballsy enough to dex it. But when you've just died to this guy like 8 times, I don't want to lose unnecessary health. So I just block because I don't want to miss a dex and have to start over again. He's not hitting into my block. Happened to let him throw an SP1 and he's regenerating 7,000. I could not believe. I was like statistically I might be able to get this guy down, but he just keeps regenning. So as you can see, the next buff is his weird power gain, and he keeps pausing it with his SP1, which I guess is one problem taken care of, but now I have to worry about, him going back up to 82%. So I'm basically just like mowing this guy down while he regens all his health back. I throw an SP2 here out of just desperation. He is going to throw the SP2. He's not, I'm not rooted yet, and as you can see, I just kind of let him go to his SP3. I did get this little technique later on, which doesn't matter in this run because I do get incinerated here. And I'm still taking damage outside of the relic. It's 1,000 a tick. I was so mad. I could not believe it. So here's another attempt. There's a lot of attempts. 26,000 regen. My hits aren't even doing enough to cancel out the regen anymore. So I'm like, all right, not a big deal. I did have this one technique where I'll let him hit me with an SP3 and then I'll just retaliate with my SP3 with the increased attack. But if I have an incinerate on me, as soon as I get up from the SP3, I just burn to death. That's what I do. And I could not believe it. So right here, I'm just baiting SP2s. I'm letting him get to the SP3. We're just going to tank the SP3 hit with Heimdall, get the attack increase, stun him with our SP3, and just hit him. But what happens when he hits you with the little jab? I was so mad, I didn't even record after that. I got off, told everyone I hate this game, I'm never playing it again. But we did end up taking him down. And when I got Psycho-Man to 37% health, I was like, maybe I should record this too, on the off chance that I'm going to keep going. Because at this point, I used like 35 of my revives. So I only had around like 10 or 12 left, but I didn't touch any of my units, but who cares? I only had 400 units. So in my head, I was like, well, I'm going to die anyway. Like, statistically, like, I'm not going to be able to beat him. So let's just see what happens. And I was, like, slowly getting Psycho-Man more and more down. And if in case you guys don't know how the fight goes, he's going to give you a little prompt, which is either block a hit, throw a special, or knock him down. Or maybe it's charge a heavy. But you do have to do these prompts, or else I believe he gains power or something. And it's... he basically just gains 3 bars and kills you. So I'm pretty much just doing his prompts slowly. You know, it's not hard. The only time it would be an issue is maybe if he had to block a hit. Because if he had to block a hit, you wouldn't be able to use Aegon. Which sucks. But unfortunately for us, it's just we have to block a hit, throw a special, and I believe charge a heavy attack. So it's not the end of the world. As you can see here, these computers just don't hit me. It's like the craziest thing ever. I just stopped doing it eventually. But the new trick, oh my god. I found this new trick where I'll dash back, and when I see them dashing in, I'll just hold heavy, which works. It does. And I'm just kind of like doing this, like I'm doing this fight like half-ass. Like I'm like so done with life. I'm like fighting this guy, and I'm just like, I can't believe I'm doing him. I can't believe I'm doing so much damage to him that I have to do the next fight. Like, it was so crumbling watching this guy just destroy my attempt. And he wasn't even that hard. It was just the fact that I came from Captain Britain and Wiccan. Fun fact about Psycho-Man, you can dex his SP2. It's not that hard of a dex. I hope I didn't cut out the attempt where I dexed it fully. But, you know, if you're not feeling... confident in it, you can block the first 2 hits and then dex the last hit, or even dex the first 2 hits and block the last hit if you feel more comfortable with that. It's all about what you want to do. I am going to be getting rooted here, but the good news is his SP1 still has the same dex window. If you're in his phase, as you can see, I did preemptively dex, which gave me enough time, and as you can see, I did hold the heavy again. I held the heavy. I could not believe how much these guys were not cooperating with me. I do have to block a hit here, or else I'm going to be taking massive damage. And we did get it off. Pretty much just staying at 5%. I did miss the dex there and died, but Heimdall saved me. So now I know I can't tank an SP3 or anything like that. Going to be baiting an SP1 here. Throwing an SP1 out of panic because he did recover fast enough for it. So I do throw a relic just to gain some more time. Not really for any other reason. Like I said, the dex window is still the same. And unfortunately, it is like... I don't know the specific character, but sometimes you're not able to actually punish their SP1. It doesn't matter how close you are. Sometimes they have enough time to just throw a jab, like how he just did to me. So it was just overall deflating. That's pretty much it for this fight. There really is no like secret technique to doing with Aegon. It's just kind of using Aegon, you know, doing your consistent damage. Follow his prompts as fast as possible. Most times his prompts don't line up with his cube prompts. You know, there isn't a lot of times where you have to like charge a heavy when his cube's at heavy, or if you feel like some type of way about it, the easiest way to manipulate his cube is just gain a bar of power. That's how it switches. So like if you see here that you know, his cube's on block and you have to block a hit if you don't feel comfortable, you can just gain a bar of power to switch his cube. Or even better, for every buff, it actually reduces the potency of his concussions, I believe, by 25%. His concussion's only 75%, so you only need 3 to cancel it out fully. So if you really felt some type of way, you could hit into him and then hold block to, you know, to be able to block the hit on the cube. That's just for one scenario. Specifically, we are doing a lot of damage here. I'm not sure if I get him down in one try, so we're going to have to probably Dex an SP2, or we might push into SP3, but I believe we have died already, so unfortunately we do have to tank this. I did purposely parry the last hit while Dexing the first two because I did need to do the prompt of blocking an attack. He is on 1% here, just kind of hoping he goes down eventually, and just like that, he is dead. That is Psycho-Man done. Now, the next two fights after that were Guardian, which there was no reason to show it. It was just more of an Aegon fight. I did also use Chavez for it. You know, she didn't work great because he only has 1 armor. So there really is no, like, benefit. I mean, she is good for it, but she's not great. And the other one was Valkyrie. Now, Valkyrie, I'm kind of upset that I didn't record because that fight was amazing, but I was doing it at work. So I couldn't really necessarily, like, record it fully with sound. But that fight was easy because she gains so many buffs that Chavez is the way to go. It's a similar fight to, I guess, the Vision Arcus, where you don't really have, like, control over the fight. There really is no power gaining control, so you can prioritize more of the first and second dimensions. But pretty much just taking your time, constantly hitting her block to gain, to give her the passive pierce, which, you know, only takes, you know, 1 hit. Aegon doesn't work too well because unfortunately you can't hit her block, and as you can see again, I do throw the I throw the heavy again and he didn't go for it. But you have to hit her block. That's why Aegon doesn't work too well for it. I mean, if you want to, like, smash through it with Aegon, all you gotta do is just block one of her attacks, which, you know, if anyone knows about Valkyrie, it does do a crap ton of damage, especially the Necropolis one. The good thing about Red Guardian here is if you can get him to his SP2, you can pretty much just bait his SP2s the whole time while you're rooted because it's just 2 easy dexes. And even with his shield fracturing, he's not able to stun you. That's why the whole fight is hard in its own. But because you're using Aegon, there's literally nothing for it. As you can see here, I did try the little trick of holding the heavy, let him dash into it, and then throw the SP2 for a big bleed. As you can see, 11,000 of bleed is a lot, and our relic does share the positive effects that we have, so our relic is unblockable, so you can kind of just throw that into block, which is the whole reason why we were even able to get that combo, which means we can pretty much just freely throw the relic no matter when we want to. Now, quick tip about the Valk in case you're actually using this as a guide, and in case, you know, many of you haven't done it yet. The Valk was really easy with Chavez. I'm telling you, like, there really was no issues with it. You're doing a crap ton of damage with Chavez. You know, occasionally you just have to make sure that she has the passive, which, because you're using Chavez and not Aegon, you have the benefit of hitting her block, not letting her hit your block. And the good news is, every time you hit her block, you end up increasing the hits on her combo meter, so she's actually gaining her regular pierces as well. So she's going to end up having 3 buffs on top of the 3 bulwarks, but occasionally those go away. I'm not really sure how that happens. I know when she loses her combo meter and stuff, but she always has at least 3 buffs, which is, if anyone knows Chavez, that is a huge attack increase for Chavez. So as you can see, we're just kind of ripping this Red Guardian apart. I was really hoping for the solo here, which is kind of part of the reason why I started recording. We do have to line it up where he is throwing the SP2. He cannot throw an SP1 while rooted because you can't dex it. It's like 4 hits when you're rooted in his face. It's impossible. So we're going to be trying to do as much damage as possible. And the one problem with this is I can't remember if Aegon has died or not. So, you know, there's a lot of times where I just want to push him to an SP2, push him to an SP3, but I'm afraid that I'm going to do it and he's not going to end up living through it. He's going to end up just dying, which would suck because, you know, that sacrifices all the damage I'm doing right now. Now, I just remembered what happened, and it is probably the most heartbreaking thing ever. Not with this fight, but with a different fight. And just like that, we do have Red Guardian done. Not really a solo, but he did have, I think he had around like 40% health, maybe 37. And that's a lot of health to take down in one attempt. We did happen to get the trick of it towards the later run of Necropolis. You know, just a couple of tricks of, like, you know, holding heavy. You know, I wait till I dash back with that. And I found another good, useful fight for Chavez was Sam Wilson Falcon, because of the amount of armors he gets. I mean, he gains 5, which obviously, you know, you could get more than that. But he's always going to have 5 permanent ones, which is a huge attack boost for her. So she is another really solid option. There's really nothing to this fight. You just can't hit his block. But, you know, obviously when he auto blocks, that becomes an issue, which I think that's the reason why I lost my first attempt with Chavez, was because I threw the SP2 and he auto blocked it and I took all these ruptures. As you can see, the first set of 5 ruptures isn't a lot. It's when it stacks up to like 10 or 15 is when it kind of starts to eat you alive. But as long as you just kind of keep doing like a punch kick block with SP3s with Chavez, you actually do a significant amount of damage while also prioritizing the relic. I believe that all of Chavez's fights are like awesome to watch. Like I had so much fun using her. I didn't really have too much fun using Aegon. You know, I don't know maybe if the hype was that, you know, he's going to steamroll through these things and mine wasn't, or just the fact that it's the same stuff over and over again with Aegon. So, you know, to me, this was more fun because, you know, you don't really see a lot of guides for America Chavez for it. Obviously, she's very useful, as you guys can see. And because there is no power to control, it's literally just a simple 4-hit combo hold heavy. So it is a pretty simple fight with her, especially since Sam Wilson Falcon's SP1 is super easy to dex. So you're actually able to be rooted all the way up to 0, you know, with her. And on top of that, you actually can go a little bit longer due to the fact that she actually reverses the Necropolis's power gain when they're at 0. So you can actually loop heavy for a while until they inevitably gain power. But for people like, I would assume for people like Vision Arcus or them, when well, that would be because of the cold snap, but any type of character that has like a big amount of power gain with the last thing, you actually could just keep looping heavies. I mean, of course, there's mechanics and nodes in this Necropolis run that you're not able to do that, but theoretically you actually could. Didn't matter if they were unblockable, didn't matter if you get rooted on specials. Because of how much the power gain is, you could just keep reducing it and pretty much just stay in control the whole time. But, you know, for this fight, and I do throw the relic, which I was really upset about because I didn't end up hitting him. But as you can see, it is melting us. In my head, I'm like, am I going to live? Am I going to die? And we end up staying at 1% health. And the funny part is I stay at 1% health for a really long time. I'm not able to throw any specials. I do learn that in the first attempt, that if he happens to auto block it, you know, you get your ruptures and you die. So I'm pretty much just playing it safe, getting as much damage as possible. It's better to have like a longer fight with more consistent damage than, you know, trying to go for something big, maybe throw the SP2, because worst case scenario, I end up getting the ruptures and I die and I miss out on all of this damage that I'm getting right now. So we're pretty much just throwing the relic here. It doesn't matter about dimensions anymore. You know, you're not reducing power gain. I can't heal on the SP2, and you know, who cares about the first dimension, because you pretty much gain all dimensions on the SP3 anyway, which is the only special that you can throw safely without being auto blocked. He does have 11 armors now, so the damage is pretty good. On top of the armors reducing the damage you take, you gain damage when he gains a buff. So it ends up actually balancing out pretty evenly here. The only thing that you pretty much have to prioritize is obviously SP1s. You don't want SP2s. And throwing a relic to constantly keep the timer up. Even when he's at 0, like I said before, you're going to be able to be comfortable with it as long as he kind of plays ball and throws the SP1 here. Unblockable or not, you know, you can pretty much stay in control. The only time that it kind of affects you is he is stun immune, so you're not able to throw your heavy. But the good news is you can punish his SP1 with your heavy. So it ends up actually being good as long as you can stay on this side of the screen. He gains no distance on his SP1, and also you can, if he throws the SP1, you get rooted in the corner, you can throw your heavy, and then you gain enough distance from that first heavy to immediately hit him with another heavy as he's getting up, you know, as long as he doesn't have a bar to throw. So it ends up being pretty good, and as you can see, we are gaining so much damage. You know, staying at this 1% health was huge. Okay, we're going to be totaling almost 300 hits against this guy. And the fight should have ended long ago when I got those 10 ruptures. So it is overall like an amazing fight. It's so satisfying seeing Chavez just take full control of these fights. It just made me happy that I figured something out against these guys. You know, I watch videos, everyone's using Wong, or, you know, obviously everyone's using Aegon. But I saw very few videos for Chavez, and I didn't see any Chavez videos for, you know, like Sam Wilson or anything like that. So it was just cool to see that, like, you can actually do kind of what you want. Not really, though, because you kind of have to, you know, unless you want to spend a lot of units. And as you can see, I screwed myself here because of the amount of power gain that I'm reducing, because I have 3 purple dimensions. I'm actually reversing the Necropolis power gain, so I end up kind of screwing myself there, trying to do as much damage as possible. We did pick the road where if you end a combo in the same attack, you are going to end up being auto-blocked. So for a fight like this, it's really bad because he'll give you ruptures. We do hit him with an SP3, hoping that he just gets up with an SP1. He's not. But because we have 1 purple, the power gain of Necropolis is actually really slow. And like I said, you can hit his heavy, hit his SP1 with your heavy to keep the damage and power gain down. But the only problem is with that is you're not going to be able to get him to an SP1 to bait it. So I'm pretty much just kind of sitting in the corner here. I'm going to throw a relic here so it goes back up so he's not unblockable anymore. And we're actually able to stun him, which is a little cool trick. The relic is able to make it so that you're able to stun him. As you can see there, he was at 1, which is why I ended the combo a lot earlier, and I was able to throw the heavy to make sure I gained some very necessary damage. We are up to 357 hits against this guy, and we are just cruising through, hoping to bait an SP1 here. I do have 4 purple dimensions, which screwed me there due to the fact that it made the power gain reduction too much, and I unfortunately had to play. You know, I couldn't just bait specials all game. So, like I said, this is one of the few fights that I offer like a full attempt at because I was just so proud of myself for figuring that out. We're pretty much just going to speed this all up because it is the same as the last attempt. It just has a little unfortunate ending. You know, I was very disappointed with it, but I obviously had to put it up because I was still proud of myself for as long as I lasted for on that 1%. It just made every attempt better. As you can see, it's just, you know, full domination. We are doing a decent amount of damage. Sometimes the armors will cancel out, like with your crits. Like, my crits are only 8,000 when he has 8 armors. It really should be, like, well over, like, 22,000. But, it ends up leaning more in his favor, where the armors reduce your damage, and then she gains damage when they have buffs. It kind of leans more towards him, but you're still gaining a decent amount of damage. Like, normal people would be doing no damage. Which is why, obviously, Aegon is a good option for this, because you can hit into his block freely and just kind of do what you want. But I was very proud of the Chavez attempts, so I did kind of only have the Chavez attempts here. I did have a couple of Aegon attempts, and of course they were really good, but, you know, he is basically bleed immune with the armors, and I don't know, I just didn't really think it was very interesting to have Aegon. But just so you guys know, Aegon is very well against this guy. You know, he could do very well against him. There's not really nothing in the fight that stops him. You know, actually, the only node in the fight when you hit into his block, Aegon actually counters. So there actually is a reason to use Aegon. It's just, you know, as long as you get beta SP1s, I mean, you can pretty much use anyone, which is why I kind of lean more towards Chavez. As you can see, we are just killing it, throwing the relic out to gain some meter, throwing the SP1 constantly keeping him in the corner. You know, the AI is a little bit more defensive when he's in the corner, so he's going to be throwing that SP1 a lot. You can bait it comfortably. Just can't let him get to an SP2. That's the only rule. It's the only rule in this fight. Don't let him get to an SP2. So we're baiting SP1s here, baiting SP1s. He's not throwing it. He finally throws it. Finally, we gain back the distance. Throw the relic to put him back in the corner. And this is where it all goes south for some weird reason. Throw an SP1 here. I hit him. And I was so scared to put him in SP2, so I do throw the heavy at a later point, because I didn't want the heavy to give him 2 bars. And at this point, I thought, obviously 1% is a lot for these guys, but I hit him with a full 4-hit combo, a heavy, and an SP3, and he didn't die. And I was just going to hold block to hope that I got the kill, and I unfortunately did not. It was so upsetting, guys. I felt so deflated. But obviously we can't all be winners, clearly, because that was pretty bad. Next up is Dragon Man, which is another beautiful Chavez fight. Not only does she not crit as much like Aegon, because obviously with Aegon, he's pretty much staying stun immune the whole fight. It is a fight where every time you crit, he gains a dormant charge, and when he gets 3, he goes stun immune, which, fun fact, also doesn't mean stun immune for the relic, so it is pretty good. But it does mean stun immune for Chavez's heavy stun. So you know, it kind of just picks and chooses what it's immune to. The big problem with this fight is that you're not able to freely get rid of the power gain. The good news is, you know, obviously, as I said before, Chavez's crit rate isn't particularly high. So as you can see there, I did get a little ballsy there because I was waiting for the power gain to come on, because the good thing is when you hold the heavy while he has the power gain, that counts as you stunning him. So he actually is losing the power gain from that. So like you guys will see a little bit later, if you can throw a combo while he has the power gain and then hold heavy, that stun actually gets rid of it. You know, and you could also block his SP1, or just the activation of the SP2 is actually definitely useful enough. And if you can't get to the power gain, you know, as long as you have like 1 or 2 purple dimensions, you're pretty much in the clear. He does happen to get an SP3 here. He does hit me with a lot of SP3s actually. We do have Heimdall to protect us, and I was kind of nervous. I dashed in. I was unstoppable still from Heimdall, which I was very lucky about, while he was also. So we're pretty much just like tanking it out, and I did throw my SP1 just out of, you know, safety. I thought maybe if you block 3 hits of his SP1, he would get rid of all 3 power gains. It didn't, but as you can see, they're just throwing the stun from the combo from the heavy is enough to get rid of all of them at once, actually. I thought maybe it would be like a once at a time thing, but it's not. You know, she's great for this fight. You know, she has a way to control the power. She has a way to get rid of the power without necessarily stunning him. Like from a parry, you can just do it from mid combo. She does heal from the SP2, you know, when he's stacking up his armors or his power gain. Sometimes it's better to let him have the power gain so you can throw the SP2 and do a lot more damage. I did get a little greedy there, as you saw, and get like 1 more hit in. You know, if it was a crit, he became stun immune, so I'm not able to throw the heavy. Able to throw the heavy here. Going to try to push him to the corner because he does throw that SP1 a lot when he's in the corner. I'm going to try to bait this SP2 so I can throw mine. I don't like throwing the SP3. To me, it just serves no benefit. So I do 1 hit. I literally do 1 hit, then the heavy. As long as I see that he doesn't go stun immune from the 1 hit, it's safe in the clear to throw the heavy. I do have to constantly pay attention to the trap that was set for me picking this road, where if you end the combo in the same attack, he does end up auto-blocking, which obviously is the easiest one of the 3, but it does sometimes get the best of me where I'll do a combo, I think I got it, and he'll auto-block and hit me. I don't know if it happens in any of the attempts that I posted, but it did happen a lot to me. So I constantly have to make sure if I see the M or the L. So this fight is pretty straightforward. You know, it works well with Chavez. Obviously, it works amazing with Aegon. I'm not sure how the interaction really goes, but I do know one thing for sure, that when you use Aegon, sometimes you can make it so his power gain doesn't come out. I wonder if it's when you hit him the second that the power gain is supposed to come out, because I believe at 750 hits, all of his crits have 100% concussion attached to them. So I believe it has something to do with the fact that when you're hitting them, as soon as the power gain comes up, it doesn't have the power gain come anymore, and then it stops coming forever. So he does have a way of eliminating the power gain completely. I just have no way of replicating it at all. So that's why I like Chavez, because it controls it. Just to see how much damage she can do, and then I have Aegon finish it off, because I kind of realized later on that I don't want to do these super long fights anymore. It's just a lot of blocking the SP1, you know, baiting SP2, power control. It's the same stuff. Healing from the SP2, as you guys can see. And just like that, we did gain a lot. Like, you gain a lot of health from it. Depending on how close you are to Dragon Man, his SP2 can either do 3 hits or 2 hits. I do see people like block the first hit and dex the last one. I tried that like my first 3 attempts, and I got hit with the second hit every time, because it just registered me letting go of block, not of me doing anything else. So I was just like, you know what, it's just not worth it to me. You know, block the damage. Unfortunately, Dragon Man's damage is physical, so Chavez isn't going to have any type of resistance to it. And that SP2 was pretty lacking, so we didn't end up healing much from it. We were able to get rid of this power gain, so we can immediately get up with the SP2. And just like that, we are in full control. You can hit his SP2 with your heavy. I'm not sure if you can hit his SP1 with your heavy. I think the distance might be too much. Actually, it looks pretty good depending if you're rooted or not. depending on where he throws it. It's a whole thing with that. We weren't able to heal from that. We did do the first one to get as much damage as possible because I do sense that I will be dying soon. So I'm just trying to get as much damage as possible to make it as easy as possible for Aegon. I do try to let the relic stun kind of go because I was hoping to do a 5-hit combo and then hold heavy to get rid of the power gain here. And as you can see, we did get rooted right in his face, and unfortunately, we were not able to get the solo. I know you guys thought I was going to take 72% of his health away, but that just sadly wasn't the case. So the next attempt is with Aegon. I did include this attempt because it's instead of showing you guys just him beating it, I wanted to show you guys how he beats it. It's pretty much straightforward like any other fight. You're going to be trying to block the SP1 to get rid of the power gain. With this fight, pretty much just parrying him goes straight out the window. He's always going to be stun immune. But the good news is an activation of an SP2, blocking an SP1, those all get rid of the power gain. So you are taking a lot of block damage, whether it's from the SP1 or the SP2. I would argue that the SP2 block damage is less than the SP1 because you're blocking like 6 or 7 hits of the SP1 compared to 2. And as you can see, I do just try it for, you know, for good old time's sake. Try to throw the heavy, and once again, he wasn't biting. You know, Dragon Man, the most passive AI in the game, was not biting. But as you can see here, we are doing a decent amount of damage. When we're not critting, though, we're only doing like 850 damage. I don't know if that's because his resistance is stupid high or I'm using a rank 4. But either way, even with the 20% attack from Nick Fury and my boosts and stuff. Well, I actually wasn't running boost this late into it. But just the 20% attack alone should be enough. 20% potency on Furies from Proxima. And I'm still only hitting this guy for like 850. It's absurd the amount of resistance these guys have. So there really is no like solid way to take Dragon Man. It's just kind of try to make it so that the power gain doesn't come back. You know, block the SP1, let him throw the SP2. If he happens to throw the SP3, it's not the end of the world because you can throw your SP3. It's just very unfortunate sometimes where you have to throw it while he's stun immune. Because he's pretty much stun immune 99.9% of the fight. And as you can see here, I did throw a heavy to hopefully bait him to do the SP2 when he comes back up, which he did. So we're going to be pretty much just cruising right through this damage here. We are slowly going below the 10% mark, which is fine. We still have Heimdall. You know, we might be able to live through a few more blocked specials. Probably not the SP3. As you can see here, I did want to go for it, throw the SP3, stun him, do a full combo, but he's stun immune, so there's nothing we can do about it. This SP3, the only thing it's doing now is creating distance between us, so I can wait out the unblockable and the unstoppable. I do have to back up a lot, which at the time I didn't know his unblockable lasted that long, so I tried to block to get rid of the power gain at the same time, which was a very stupid idea. But you know, at the end of it, this fight was a little tricky. You know, I tried to figure out who the best option is for the fights. Chavez was good because you know, they're all good in their own way. Chavez has power control. You know, she can get rid of the power gain from parrying. Unlike Aegon, you know, Aegon just kind of has the beast mode throw it. They kind of both do the same thing, so I don't really know if there's one person that's better than the other. I guess I would have to lean it. I mean, I'm a little biased, but I have to lean towards Chavez just because, you know, if his AI wasn't cooperating with me at all, it would have been nice to know that I have the purple dimension stopping his power. And also, being able to parry every once in a while isn't, you know, is pretty good with on top of the healing. You know, that's a big part of it. I only have to bring her up to 20 or 30% health. And she's pretty much healing all the way back up to 100 because the fights that I'm using her for have a lot of buffs. So the SP2 is doing a crap ton of damage, which means she's healing for a crap ton amount. Just overall, an amazing champ for the fight, any fight really. And unfortunately, Dragon Man isn't bleed immune, so the big damage from Aegon's SP2 isn't a thing. You know, you're pretty much just doing raw damage to him, which obviously is a solid amount of damage because it is Aegon at the same time. But, you know, sometimes you just have to pick the character you want to have fun with. Like, to me, like, the only reason why I got through Necropolis was because of the fun Chavez fights. Like, if every fight had to be done with Aegon, like, I would have been bored out of my mind. Like, there was just no benefit to me doing it. The good news is, for the Dragon Man, when if the first hit of the heavy is a crit and he becomes stun immune, it still allows you to do the whole heavy. It's not like he has to be stunned during the whole thing. So As long as you can land that first hit of the heavy, you're pretty much golden. And as you can see here, you know, we're pretty much just doing our damage. Obviously, it does take a few attempts to get these guys down. As you can see here, like, she's holding her own. She's going to be doing it. She's going to roughly take about 20 to 25% health, you know, where Aegon could take about 25 to 30% health. So, you know, he does a little bit better, but it also kind of depends on if the computer cooperates with you at the same time. So, you know, it is kind of a mix of things. It all depends on the champ that you use, if Dragon Man is cooperating. So this fight's kind of tricky. It's tricky to tell you guys how to take it because it can kind of be done in any way. And it also kind of depends a little bit on luck of whether the computer is going to listen to you or not. So, yeah, it's not a, you know, a super hard fight, but it's definitely frustrating. Fast forwarding to the Aegon takedown, he did happen to actually hit us through our heavy, which is pretty cool. I don't believe this is going to stun him, though, because he is stun immune. We're going to be trying to do as much damage as possible. Just kind of want to be done with this. The next fight is Cap Infinity War, which I was excited about because I heard he was just as easy as, like, Red Guardian, where it was pretty much nothing to the fight. On top of me being able to dex Captain America Infinity War's SP1 and his SP2, I already knew in my head that the fight was going to go well. Whether it was, you know, kinetic or anything like that. Where you're not able to kill him in that attempt either. But, yeah, as you guys can tell, we did obviously get him down. Now, the thing with Cap is I was afraid that he was going to glance, like, every hit. And you guys are going to see that he doesn't glance a lot of my hits, like, at all. Like, it's not even, like, a common thing. I would say maybe, like, every, like, 15 or 20 hits, he's going to glance something. Which, to be honest, isn't too bad. Like, my biggest fear is when I did the SP2 to get the bleed, that he would end up actually glancing the last hit, so I wouldn't get the big bleed. On top of, I assumed when he had a kinetic that he would be able to hit through my block, like hit through my unstoppable, but I think because Aegon has multiple unstoppables from his hits, he'll only be able to take away one unstoppable, which I'm realizing now as I'm recording is like an insane interaction, because Captain America is made to be able to beat unstoppable, but he can only get rid of one unstoppable per kinetic. So if you have like two, you're still going to be unstoppable, which I guess is why I was winning those interactions, which is pretty cool. The thing with Cap Infinity War, especially with these attempts, is you guys are going to see that I was playing a lot more aggressive. Like I was holding the heavy to get hit to throw the SP2, which is the kind of the reason why I was doing so much damage. As you can see here, he did end up getting past my unstoppable, or he just waited for it to go away. We are going to stun him with this and do a crap ton of damage, though. 48,000 on mediums and 26,000 on lights. I did get nervous with the concussion, because I did end up somehow dying from that. One of my attempts, so I did back up to wait for it to go away, and then I was like, oh, I guess I can throw my relic at him, and that's why that weird interaction happened of me dashing back and then coming back in with a relic. I am going to be trying to bait this SP2 here, hold heavy so I can do the big damage, and I'm going to try, but I don't like throwing the SP3, so I would prefer just throw the SP2 without the damage boost than to throw an SP3. I kind of just you don't need it. The only reason why I used it was so I can gain my hits, but now that I'm at 999, there's just no reason to throw it. Obviously, if you have the big Fury, you can do pretty well with it. Now he is red now, so I'm going to be trying to push him to SP2s if possible. Obviously, I can dex the SP1, but I would prefer to obviously dex the easier special. We do cut the combo short right before the 1 bar, so I can do a 4-hit combo, hold heavy, and a 6-hit combo will be able to bring me to an SP2. So we are able to bait that out. Unfortunately, I'm not able to prioritize the big bleed damage right now. If I'm able to squeeze it in, I would like to, but if he throws that SP1, it's a little bit of a tricky dex. It all kind of depends on spacing and how fast you react. So right now the priority is holding heavy to bait him to SP2. The block damage isn't too much, so it's not really something I have to worry about. I mean, I do have class advantage, so his attack is a little bit less. I'm going to be trying to go for a cheeky, enhanced bleed. It's almost a 12k bleed because of not only class advantage, but obviously the 20% attack boost from Nick Fury and the full courage mastery that I set up earlier in the run. So we are doing pretty well. I do have to throw this SP2 here to give him enough power to get to an SP2, and we're going to dex that while rooted, and pretty much just holding it down. We're going to be able to throw the relic here to make sure that we not only give ourselves more time in the fight, but enough time to be able to stun him and get a 6-hit combo to his SP2 again. So we are doing pretty well here. I'm going to try to throw the SP2 here to get him to 2 bars. So pretty much the enhanced bleed is kind of out the window now. It's not really that big of a deal. As you can see, we are just mowing him down because of, not only the enhanced bleed, but we're just kind of laying into him. The fight doesn't slow down when it becomes you get rooted during the specials, because as you guys can see, I can easily and comfortably push him to the SP2. We were able to get that. I was kind of holding it for a long time, hoping that I could get it. He's always getting up with an attack, so I'm able to throw the relic before he can throw any type of thing, whether it's a light attack, a medium attack, or SP1, So we are pretty much in full control of the fight. I was not able to tank those hits, so I did have to, unfortunately, throw an SP1 so I have enough spacing, because the worst interaction is when you end a combo, dash back while they throw a special, and you get clipped while you're dashing back. So I did have to throw the SP1 just to put me back in neutral. He is at 4 now, and as you guys can see, it is kind of a weird dex. It's just kind of like I'm playing the old meta again. There really is no benefit to doing it. But, as long as you can comfortably dex everything, you're pretty much just in the clear. There's nothing to worry about here. I'm baiting SP2s. I can dex SP1s. The relic keeps giving me more time. I'm going to throw the SP1 here on top of the damage, and maybe the time it'll bring him to 2 bars. I do hold block here to hope that he gets 2 bars. He's going to throw it. 355 hits. We are cruising through this guy. I'm not going to be able to hold heavy anymore to get the big bleed, unfortunately, which isn't the end of the world. I don't want to die, so I'd rather get as much consistent damage as possible than chance it on a big SP2 or something. He did auto block because of the node, and I did screw up. I don't know how that happened, but I was so disappointed in myself. But it ended up working out actually pretty well, because we did get a lot more damage than I thought we were going to get. We did hit 0 a few times on that fight, and we still had full control. So, last up before this notorious Grandmaster is Nova. The thing about Nova is, just like most of the other fights, she is amazing for it. The first run is kind of a little crappy, because I don't really incorporate his actual node. The node is, as long as you stay in his face, this little timer goes around. It gives him like a Nova Force charge. And I believe if he gets 5 or maybe 4, you get power drained, and he ends up, you take like burst damage from it or something like that. And my first attempt went really well, but I didn't lose any health from anything else other than this mysterious burst damage. So as you can see here, I'm literally paying no attention to it, because I just don't think it's a problem, because when I read it, it just said power drain. So I'm like, I don't care if I get power drain. And the good thing about Nova is I can dex his SP2 and his SP1. So whether you're rooted or anything like that, you could pretty much do the whole fight, as long as he doesn't throw that SP3, but we have Heimdall in case he does. So this is one of the few fights that you could pretty much just play infinitely, like whether he's at 0, whether you're getting rooted, whether he's unblockable. As long as he's throwing those specials out and you can land the dex, it's definitely an incentive to keep doing it, until I learned about this node. Like I'll look up and I'll have no health and I won't understand why, and then I realize, oh, it's this weird node that I didn't read. And we did unfortunately get an SP3, which I did not want. You're always going for the SP2 heal, so I do throw the relic just to get him back in the corner. But unfortunately, I am going to soon forget about this global, this global node for him, and I'm going to take this big burst damage, which, to be honest with you, isn't too big burst damage. Like, I believe like 1 SP2, maybe 2 SP2s heals back the damage that it does. So it's really not the end of the world. It's just it caught me off guard for my first attempt. The good news is, Nova's always going to have a bar. When he throws at SP1, he does get that energize. So, a few hits and a heavy is enough to give him bar. So you're pretty much always baiting SP1. You're baiting SP1, punishing. Baiting SP1, punishing. Baiting SP1, punishing. And then throwing the SP2 to heal. That's pretty much all it is. Sometimes the SP1 is going to, clip me a few times, because it's just, you know, it's eventually you're gonna get hit with it. It's got a weird dex. So as you saw, we did take some burst damage. It wasn't a lot, and like I said, I didn't really read the node. Sometimes the burst damage is 25% of my health. Sometimes it's 5% of my health. I have no idea what determines it. But as you guys are going to see in the later attempts, we actually develop a few strategies to deal with that meta. Whether it's sometimes we throw the relic and I'm able to just get a jab in before the timer goes all the way around so I can reset it. As long as you're not in range, you actually it goes back up to 0, so you're able to reset the timer every time you just dash back. So a few times you'll like throw a relic and then I only have time to throw a jab and then I'll end up doing that. So he is rooting now, which isn't a big deal. I want as many buffs as possible, which is part of the reason why I went for the first dimension with the SP2. He's at 86% health, which is pretty good. You know, full control, not really a problem here. He does have 1 Nova Force charge and he's about to get 2. Doesn't matter, you know, we're hitting for like 50k on combos in general. So we're just slowly mowing him down. And not to mention the SP2 healing us is huge. You know, we have 7 buffs on here. No crits on that, which was very unfortunate. Because if those hits crit, we would have been able to heal for a lot on top of doing a crap ton of damage. Sorry, my throat is dry. I'm narrating all this in one shot. So my voice is getting gradually more dusty as I go. He's always going to have at least 2 or 3 buffs on at all times. So your damage increase with Chavez is always an insane amount. Whether you're using it for raw damage or you're using it for healing, there really is no wrong way to go. And as you can see, you actually can hit his SP1 a few times when you're rooted. It doesn't happen all the time. You guys are going to see I do actually get hit a few times from it. But sometimes the distance is just enough for you to be able to hit him. You clip him with like the first hit of the heavy, like, because she like lunges forward. So we're going to be trying to bait this SP1 here before we throw our SP3. I might be keeping it just for safekeeping, or, you know, sometimes I like to keep it in case I get backed in the corner. But Nova's not really pressuring us at the moment, so it is better to gain all our dimensions so we can just kind of stay on this side of the screen. There really is nothing for us on the other side. I'm not even worrying about Nova Force charges. I'm just kind of doing my thing here. And without really even trying, I'm kind of evading them for the most part. He does have 4 now, and I believe what kills me this run is the burst itself. But I'm not entirely sure. You know, all these runs kind of just mesh into themselves. So I'm going to be throwing the SP2 here with the second dimension to hopefully heal a lot. And as you can see, we did heal a lot. We healed like 15 or 16% of our health. I didn't really know what the starting number was. But definitely a solid amount. Just constantly baiting SP1s. You can bait, you know, if you don't feel comfortable with SP2s, it's actually an easier fight because you don't have to push them to a different special like maybe you would with Red Guardian, where you'd prefer to push him to SP2 to bait it. You know, it's Nova's SP1. It's, you know, one of the easy ones in the game. Sometimes it clips you, and even if it does, you know, you don't die from it. As you can see, we have 1% health. See, like that time it took a crap ton of our health. I don't know how that happened. But we are at 1%, and everyone knows how notorious Chavez is. 1%, she can pretty much just mow down anyone without even getting hit. And baiting SP1s here, you know, he's not at 0 yet, so there really is no problems with Chavez. And we're going to heal a little bit from this. And we ended up getting 18% of our health back, which is awesome. It really is. As long as you consistently dex everything, and we'll find out in the later runs, you're able to, you know, not play into his node where he gains Nova Force charges. You can pretty much keep the run going infinitely with Chavez. Like I said before, as long as he throws his specials, you're pretty much in full control. We're going to be healing again. And just like that, you know, we're pretty much where we started before we got hit with the burst. So we're pretty much just healing damage that the burst is going to take away eventually, which, you know, doesn't matter too much. The main focus is to make sure that you can dex the SP1s, because getting hit with the last hit and then with his charge, it doesn't do any damage. It's not really his SP1's purpose, but it definitely is a problem. As you can see here, we did end up tanking it with Heimdall, which I didn't really expect, which is why I didn't punish him. So we are going to have to hope to God that we gain something. I do have the purple dimension, so it did stop the power gain, which kind of screwed me in the end. And then I tried to do a Hail Mary, hit his heavy with my heavy, which did not work at all. And as you guys are going to see, like, we do develop a little bit of a better attack plan against the Nova. You know, this is one of the other fights that I gave the full attempt on with Chavez, just because of how good it went with her. You know, he starts off with 54% health. I don't remember if I take all his health away or not, but you guys are going to see some of the strategies. We do miss the dex on the SP1, which, you know, whatever. You know, it doesn't do too much damage, and it's the beginning of the game, so it's not that big of a deal. The only time that I'm giving Nova charges is when I throw the SP1 while I'm in his corner, because I'm not losing any distance. So unfortunately, he will gain a few Nova forces from that. I think he gains 3 in total. But we do have the full fight on control. You know, I think we even get back to 100% health with this. The main thing is to throw the heavy and then to back away to not gain the Nova force. As you guys saw before, I did end up giving him a Nova force. And you guys are going to see that the medium is just too slow right off the bat. You know, you do a 4-hit combo or whatever, and then you throw the relic. You have just enough time to throw a singular light, and then you could dash away. It's pretty funny how it works. It's like just enough time, like slowly. Because the relic does take a lot of time, which is why I should have picked a different relic, maybe one that only had like 2 hits or something like that. And as you can see, he waited for me to dash in so I could hit his SP1. Not a big deal. He always tries to attack after his auto block, so you can pretty much just spam attack here. We do give him another Nova Force, which kind of sucked, but because now I'm afraid of it because it does damage. But I do have, if I'm over like 50% health, I'm not worried about it too much. And now I'm over 70% health, and the SP2 is really good because it puts you just out of range, so you're able to constantly throw it and not have to worry about him gaining any Nova Forces. And as you saw over there, I just threw a light and I'm able to back away. It's just enough time to not gain a Nova Force charge. So as you guys can see, the fight is pretty self-explanatory. You know, there really is no problems with it. There's no real power gain to reduce besides the power gain that happens when he charges in. But if you're constantly in the corner, he's not gaining it anyway. So, and it kind of ends up screwing you there. As you guys saw just now, he had a bar of power, but because he dashed in on me from a greater distance, he ended up losing the power. So I ended up having to actually take a hit in terms of like a blocked hit or anything like that. So I'm going to be pretty much just full control of this fight. Dexing the SP1, you know, if he gets to an SP2, it's not the end of the world. He has all these buffs. Throw the SP2, so I hopefully get back to 100% health. We didn't get back to 100% health, not too many crits, but we still gained back 14% of our health, which is definitely a sizable amount. He does have 4 Nova Forces, so he only needs 1 more to do a big burst damage. I already know from the last fight that we're going to live through a few of them. I mean, maybe it does more damage the more health you have, but I know that it's not going to kill us with 1, so I'm not really worried about it too much, especially after doing this and literally being back at 100% health. So it is by far an amazing champ to use. It's the sole reason why I even got done with this Necropolis run, because God, using Aegon was so boring. It was just out of control. We're going to throw a light dash back, which is just enough time to not gain a Nova Force, and we are killing it right now. Just slowly. I don't believe I get the solo on this attempt, so I am going to start just transitioning into the final part of it. Yeah, we do end up getting clipped when he's at 10% health. It's just unfortunate how that happened. So we do fully heal. You know, we go back in. It's not really a full attempt. I think I came in at like 50% health or something like that because I didn't want to waste the potions because I was right at the Grandmaster. So I was really nervous for that. You know, I told myself I'm just going to take the Nova out and then I'm gonna fight Grandmaster tomorrow. I'm not going to fight him right now. I don't want to. So I take the Nova out, you know, eventually, and I look up a guide on how to take the Grandmaster just to see, and it seemed so simple. I was like, all right, I can do this now, like quickly, like it's not even that big of a deal. But I'll show you how that went. You know, I'm sure you guys can figure it out when the Nova is about to be dead and there's still however many minutes left in this video. But full control of the fight. Trying to heal. I mean, at this point, because I'm at 100, I might go for the more damaging route on the SP2, but I have to wait for my relic because, you know, I'm not able to just do that freely. So I'm going to throw the SP2 here. You know, it still does big damage because I have all 3 dimensions. But obviously the main use for that is the healing itself, which obviously wasn't necessary at that time. But he does have 4% health now, so we're pretty much just killing it. I'm going to throw the SP1 here to gain the first dimension, and I'm going to hopefully hit him with a heavy and then the SP2 to hopefully get him down to 2% health, because obviously 1% for these guys is a crap ton, as we learned from the Sam Wilson Falcon. And just like that, we are killing it. He does have the Nova Force thing, which I was going to throw the relic, but I didn't want to take a burst damage because I would like to have Chavez at full health to fight the Grandmaster in case I need her. I mean, I only plan to ever do it with Aegon in general, but I wanted to make sure, just in case, that I had a full health champ to help him. And just like that, Nova is done. He's done. And I got to make this very clear. This is not a guide on how to fight the Grandmaster. This was god awful. The first phase was fine, and I'm gonna show you guys the first attempt. You guys can laugh at me, doesn't matter. I did not do too much research. I watched the video, I skimmed it to see how easy it would be, and it looked easy enough, so I end up just kind of doing it. And you guys are gonna see right here, I already right off the bat, I did 2 knockdowns. I don't know why I did that. I guess I didn't notice it. You know, there's times I was throwing lights while it was banned. My first attempt definitely went horrible. But as you can see, he's wounded. And the good thing with Aegon is he cruises right through these phases. You know, with the amount of damage he's doing. On top of, sorry about that. On top of red light, green light. Pretty much just taking your time. There's no better way to put it. You know, it's... The first phase has the bans. You know, you throw enough lights until your light attacks get banned. You throw enough heavy attacks until your heavy attacks get banned. And then you parry enough times until your parries get banned. And then you end it off with your deck being banned. And then he gains a bar and he throws it. You're gonna follow the phases, block, and then he's gonna get wounded. And that's why the first phase is super easy. Which was the whole reason why I was like, I can totally beat this guy. And the good news is, the relic actually pauses his wounded state, as you guys are going to see. I'm going to be able to hit him plenty of times before it goes away. And I'm hoping to get him to the second phase so I don't have to do this again. And as you guys are going to see, red light is coming, so I had to stop. There is a little bit of a grace period for it. It's not the end of the world. And you guys are going to see I did not follow the token of impudence or whatever it is. So I do get hit with the SP3, and I was pissed. So I'm like, screw it. I'm not dying again to this first freaking attempt. So I did pay attention this time, so I did him with another light. I'm going to parry again. My parry's banned, so I'm hoping my heavy attack is banned, and it was, thank God. So I'm going to dex, and I did happen to reparry by accident, so I did gain a token. And right now I'm just trying to bait the SP1, and this guy's attacking me like he doesn't have a bar. You see this? He like forgot that he was supposed to hit me with the super. And get hit, block, you just got to follow the things, and he's going to be wounded. And you know, the worst part is he was right at his second phase, which sucked. I would have at least liked to get the first phase done before I died, but sadly that's not the case. I mean, the good news is it does get rid of your tokens of impudence, which definitely is a lifesaver because I suck. Now the next phase is he's going to be telling you Grandmaster says, which is like Simon says. And of course I get the worst RNG in my life. I get inflicted damage and debuff, which Aegon can't because he can't gain 2 bars. So I do already start off with an L, which is fine. And the problem is these damn prompts are either super fast or don't come out at all. I don't know what the deal is. We did happen to gain a buff, so you're going to see. It's going to be like Grandmaster says, and it's just going to go away. And I'm just going to be like, oh, there's a few times I pause because I literally have to... I need the game to tell me what the challenge was. See, like, challenge successful. I didn't even know what that was. I checked, and I didn't realize that I did it, which is fine. It's whatever. But there's a couple times that you'll just see the album for, like, Grandmaster says. It won't even tell you what it is. So I'm trying to whiff an attack here, but I realize it has to be done after the special animation, which I found out way too late. He does have 4, so I'm hoping to get this last 5th one so I can just cruise right through this phase. Like, it's literally nothing. And I'm trying to land the intercept here, trying to land it, and I do land it, and he's wounded. So right here, I'm trying to go for it. I'm going to throw my relic out to pause, get him to his 3rd phase, and in my head, I'm like, I can't believe people are hyping up this fight. And those of you that have done it have realized that I haven't brought in inverted controls immune because I honestly think I'm good enough to do it. That's all it is. I just think I'm good enough to do it. And if you guys aren't good enough to do it, that's not my problem. That's really what it is. I'm joking. I had a really tough time with it. So as you guys can see, the third phase, you are permanently inverted, which isn't the end of the world. It's basically the same exact thing as the second phase, except you're inverted. That's literally the only difference with it. So at this point, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get him down, and I'm screwing up because I'm not doing the prompts. I blocked the SP1 because I was inverted, and it sucks. It was horrible. So now I'm going to speed this up a little bit because I'm going to be honest with you. If you guys wanted the full attempt, I think the Grandmaster alone was an hour. Which if you guys wanted, I could make my specific just my Grandmaster part. But trust me, you guys don't want that. So our first prompt was dash back, which we got, and it says perform well-timed blocks, which isn't Grandmaster. I was going to say isn't Simon Says. It isn't Grandmaster Says. So we're not worried about that right now. I'm just going to be keeping my distance. We do get hit, so I'm going to try to block the SP2. The good news is you can't die to the SP2, so I'm pretty much just, taking my time with it, not really doing much. He has 3 tokens, so or 3 like tickets, whatever they are. So I have to get to 5 to stun him, so I can get to the last phase. And in my head, I'm like, all right, I got this. This isn't the end of the world. And with that, I screwed up the damn dash back prompt because I'm inverted. And I didn't realize it, and I was so mad because I was so close to stunning him and getting rid of this phase. This phase alone had like maybe 15 or 16 attempts. And people are telling me that the other phase is harder, which, don't get me wrong, it was difficult. But I had more of a problem with this. I don't know what it was. So, because it was the mixture of like Grandmaster Says, and this one says dash back. How am I not going to dash back? And it's not even Grandmaster Says, so I got to stay in his face. I throw the SP1 to buy some time. So I'm gonna dash back here, and it said failed. I don't even know how it failed. It didn't even say Grandmaster Says. I could not believe it. So now I'm inverted. And as you guys can see, because I've skipped ahead a little bit, we are doing so much damage to him in regular damage. We might even be able to just bulldoze our way through this phase, which I'm going to be honest with you, which was the total attempt that I was going to do. I was like, this is obviously never going to work, so I'm just going to kill him. That's literally my whole thing. I had 42 revives. I had 400 units. I had a $25 credit. And then, as you guys can see, I had to block because I had to pause the game to figure out what the challenge was that Grandmaster said, which, by the way, it didn't tell me. And in the attempt of trying to touch the pause button, I got hit with an SP1. I was livid. But anyway, I had 42 revives, 400 units, $25 credit, and I burned through all of it, basically on the Grandmaster. I burned through my items on Captain Britain and Wiccan. I burned through my money on Nameless Grandmaster, and I had to put in another $10 to get him off on the last stage. In my head, I'm like, I'm literally gonna have to bulldoze my way through this phase because I can't do it. So I have 4 tokens now, and I'm like, okay, Dex, block, Dex, don't screw up. And now it says stand still, and I have to hold block, and it's hard because I'm inverted, and this guy just is laying into me. Nice calm game, you know what I mean? Like, this game's fun, I'm supposed to be taking a break, but someone told me I have to do it, so I have to do it now. And that, I don't even know what that challenge was. Perform well-timed blocks. And it didn't say Grandmaster Says, but I thought it did. So I got a token of impudence. I was so mad. I couldn't believe how annoying this was. We're blocking. I'm going to dash in, try to gain some distance. I'm hoping to throw this SP1, but I have to wait to see if it's knocked down or something like that. I do like throwing the SP1 because it does take a long time. So now we have 4 tickets. If we can get a 5th one, we'll be done. It'll pause the phase, so I'll be able to take down this last whatever percent, and we'll be done. We'll be able to go home. Now, it does say stand still, which, fun fact, somehow in the middle of my SP2 animation, that counts as me standing still. I don't even know how that's possible, but it doesn't matter. He's on his last phase, so in my head, I'm like, all right, cool, and I'm not inverted anymore. It's like I was weirded out. And now this is when it becomes a problem because you get inverted and not inverted after each attempt. Everyone was telling me that this is going to be an issue. You know, they were like, why didn't you bring Wiccan? Because I don't need him. I don't need Wiccan. I can do it with Aegon as I continue to die. Now I'm going to speed up because it was horrible. Now, I have to hit him with an SP1, an SP2, and an SP3, which isn't horrible, but my first couple attempts were a problem because I didn't know if, like, the thing was off of him. Like, because I didn't really pay attention to the face too much. I found out that you find out it's off when one of his protection things is off. You know, it's like immortality, death immunity, and indestructible, whatever. And I realize now, like, I think I even throw an SP1 again because I'm like, I don't understand if it's... I thought maybe the game would indicate if I did it to him or not. And, like, it didn't say, like, SP1 down or something. So, like, I end up wasting, like, 2 or 3 attempts throwing SP1s at him. So now I'm trying to rush the SP2, which I could not believe I got him to. And we do end up taking a hit. Whatever. So now in my head, I'm like, all right, I got to get an SP3. And in my head, I'm like, all right, how am I going to do this? Now, this is the last of my $25. I'm like, so how am I going to get to an SP3 being inverted? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea. I don't even, at one point, I don't even know if I'm inverted or not. Because, like, it changes. So I got hit. I just keep getting hit with heavies. I must have gotten hit with, like, 15 heavies. And they, of course, they do an insane amount of damage. And, of course, there's no sound on the heavies either. It's nothing. I have no sound cue to see if it's charging up. I just got to see him holding a big dice. And I was so pissed. It wasn't even like... And the funny part is, I died more on the last phase than I died on this phase. So I just put in $10 to buy units to hopefully beat him. So now in my head, my idea was, I'm gonna try to get this last hit, and I'm just gonna bulldoze him. Like, and I'm throwing lights here. I'm just trying to clip him. That's all I'm trying to do. So now I'm inverted. I got hit with a heavy. Dead. Again, I'm dead. By another heavy. Next attempt. Alright. The goal is get to an SP3. I'm gonna try to lay into him while being unstoppable. I might take some damage, but it's not the end of the world. You know, just stay unstoppable. So in total, this last phase took me, because I saved all my attempts. It took me like maybe like 3 or 4 attempts, and the last phase took me so many attempts. I couldn't understand why it was so hard. So I'm holding block here, and I was hoping he would throw the SP2 because you can't die to it, so it would give me all this power. And I just have to complete a 6-hit combo here. And I completed it, and I was like, oh my god, I think he's dead. And then he's stunned. And then I was like, oh my god, he didn't get stunned. So I hit into his block, and I was like, oh my god, I beat him. I couldn't believe it. Everyone said this phase was super hard. I hated the other one. So I took a picture so I could send it to everyone. And just so you have proof, I ended up getting all this stuff. I was very happy with it. I was really hoping I can open a Titan Crystal because I like the people that are in it. But it looks like I might have to wait for the next one. So I am going to cut it to when I started opening my relic stuff. I love relics so much. So I do open a 6-star Gamora relic, which is really good. I got to figure out who to put that on. Right now, my best ones, I have a Venom one that I have on Venom Pool, a 6-star Venom one on Venom Pool, and a 5-star Venom one on my 7-star Venom. Now, we have the class hero selector. I honestly thought that this was, I don't know the name of that crystal, but it's when you pick the class, and it lets you pick any champ in that class. So I was very upset that it wasn't that. To be honest, I don't even know what it was. It's literally like a pool of like 7 people of that class, and then you just do that. And I was like, all right, I guess. So I'm opening it in the hopes that I get Werewolf by Night. I really want him like a lot. And I know that he's going to be the meta next season, which I'm excited about. Because right now my only real meta attacker is my 6-star Wiccan. So like I would take... You know, I have Clairvoyant, but I would take Werewolf by Night. I would like to run him for most of my wars, but, you know, that's just not the case. That's why I was hoping to pull a Mystic 2-3, which I think that's why the game had it, and then it rolled over. I did end up getting a Muted 2-3. There's not really anyone I want to use it on. You know, the only real, like, good mutant I have, I mean, I have Bishop. I could rank 3 my 7-star Bishop. You know, he's good. And I have I have Storm X, and I have regular Storm, and I also have a Domino. So maybe, or I might just hold it, you know, maybe. No, I mean, Blob didn't end up winning, but maybe I would save it for Blob if he was coming out anytime soon. And as you saw, I pulled Kindred, and I was so pissed because I did the auto open, and I realized it didn't give me a list of people to open. And I was like, oh my god, I just got robbed. So now I got to open it again in hopes that I pull Wiccan, like the only person in the crystal that I could use, or Wong, so I could use it for the other paths in Necropolis. But I was upset. I was like, damn, I did all this basically for nothing. But I guess it's not for nothing. And I'm opening it. I could have duped my Chavez. And just like that, I pulled 7-star Wiccan, which I was very happy about. Definitely plan to use them. I used the 6-star a lot. And overall, it was definitely a crazy run. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's why there kind of hasn't been too many videos. I did Necropolis, and then I had to edit it a little bit, and now I'm voiceovering it. And had a very long day. But I'm happy I got this out to you guys. Just to be clear, it's not really a guide. It's just more telling you how I did it, you know, my journey into Necropolis. I do plan to come back, you know, as I said in the comments, in case you guys didn't read it. I do plan to come back to War, you know, with S-Law. You know, they're doing really good without me. So I got to be there to make it seem like I'm the reason why they're there. But, you know, as I've said in the past, you know, it's... I have felt a lot happier. I felt like, I guess, like, weightless, I guess would be the right way to put it. You know, there's not so much of a toll, you know, having to play War and take it so seriously and just like that. And, you know, I'm going to try my best to play it without, you know, being super competitive, I guess. You know, I'm just a natural competitive person. But if I find it becoming an issue where I'm being like really angry at times and I'm just kind of hating my life at the moment when I play it, you know, that's not going to be something that I want to continue to do. Like I said, there's going to be stuff like this, like Necropolis and stuff that I'll just do. But, you know, I already told the leader of S-Law that, you know, I'm going to be giving it one more season. You know, I'm going to see if it's something that I really can't balance, or it's going to be affecting me mentally and physically. You know, I'm not going to just stay there. You know, because I'm going to give it a chance, you know, because I love the game so much. And, you know, I love all you guys. You guys are all killing it. And, but if it becomes an issue with me mentally, physically, or emotionally, you know, it's just a game at the end of the day. And I'm not going to have a game have that much power over me, whether it, you know, hurts my channel or not. You know, eventually I'll hit a point where you guys are just watching content because it's me. You know, you won't be watching it for the game I play. But, you know... Obviously, I'm going to use Contest for what it is. You know, it is an amazing game. But as I've said in the past, you know, if it's something that it's too hard to balance, where, you know, if I can find a way to not take it so seriously and still play as well as I usually do, then that'll be good. If I find myself lacking, if I find myself still getting angry, it's just not a game for me. So I just want to let you guys know that and be fully transparent that as much as I intend to come back, and I will be coming back, so there will be war videos for next season. It's ultimately up to me at the end of the season whether I feel as though I can really balance, you know, the toll of the game on top of my life and all the stuff I have going on. Just recording in general, you know what I mean? But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you all on the next one.